Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the webinar today. I want to thank everybody for spending some time with us and joining the webinar. My name is Randy Blatt. I am a Customer Success Manager here with Jazz, and I will be hosting the webinar today. Today we are going to focus on Jazz's new flexible feature add-on options. Very exciting for us. This is something that has been in the works for nearly a year. We've really set off to kind of create some flexible a la carte features to basically offer to our entire customer base. We've got great feedback from customers, like I'm sure most of you out there have submitted feedback to us, and we really appreciate it. So we're trying to build out a nice, easy way to add on features kind of on demand. So let's just go ahead and dive right in here. We're going to take a look first at the agenda. You'll notice a little theme here of flexibility. It's pretty impressive what this gentleman's doing here, but we'll first talk just briefly about the out-of-the-box features Jazz offers. I'm sure many of you are aware that we offer unlimited jobs, unlimited candidates, unlimited users, so we'll touch base on that very quickly. We'll move to what I believe is one of our most important functionalities in the Jazz application, which is the applicant tracking system, and critical function that allows you to create custom workflows, send batch emails, use batch actions, but really create nice efficiencies in your process and make things very easy for you. We'll next move to interviews and assessments, how to complete an interview guide in Jazz, show you the really how easy and collaborative interviews are within Jazz. We'll look at evaluations as well, and just another form of assessment within Jazz that is kind of similar to interview guides, but has a couple of different nifty features. So we'll look at that also. Offer management, this is something that we'll take a look at quickly. We have a big upcoming release coming up here at the end of the month on June 30th, where we're actually going to be introducing e-signatures into the Jazz platform and really making it easy to complete offer letters, have new candidates or candidates that are turned into employees, have them sign onboarding documents, NDAs, etc. So we'll take a look at the basic offer management we offer now and talk a little bit about what's coming out at the end of June here. We'll look at reporting and compliance. This is actually my favorite functionality in Jazz and my favorite add-on, because it's very important to kind of take a step back and look at your department, your recruiting department, your recruiting team if you're a team of one, but just take a look back at how you're performing, some metrics, and identify ways that you can improve your hiring processes, make things easier for you, your team, for candidates, and ultimately hire, the most high-performing candidates that you can. So expect about 30 to 45 minutes. Please ask questions. I like to be as interactive as possible. So on the right side of your screen, and then go to webinar control panel. If you're listening to this live, you will have the opportunity to ask questions anytime, so please do. We'll review some questions at the end, and also just want to let you know that this is being recorded. After the webinar today, everyone will receive a recorded version of this webinar. Again, please ask questions at any time, and I'm happy to answer them for you. I'd like to talk about the different support resources we have, the different options here. We have an awesome support team, and they are actually typically the easiest means of communication is to send them an email at support@jazz.co. Very responsive, typically one or 2 hours, you'll have a response and an answer to your questions. So very, very great team. Keep in mind, in the application on the launch page, you're also going to see some buttons all throughout the application that will link you to our support site, our knowledge base, and to our contact our success team. So we're going to circle back with this at the end here. I'm going to kind of skip over this for now, but these are basically how our planned features break down. I'm actually going to take a look at that at the end of the webinar here. So let's dive in. First thing I want to just take a quick review of is the out-of-the-box features Jazz offers. Again, unlimited open jobs, so you can have hundreds of jobs open if necessary. Unlimited candidates in the system. You can have as many users or administrators in the system as you'd like. We give you a nice mobile-friendly careers page that you can use to advertise your positions, a basic recruiting workflow, obviously the free job board syndication, You can create custom questionnaires, et cetera, et cetera. So that is, the basic functionality that we offer with Jazz Post. Most of you out there will be current customers using Jazz Post, which will include all those out-of-the-box features, as well as job syndication. So the one really important add-on or module that we are offering is an applicant tracking system. And I want to actually go ahead and just kind of show you some of the upgrades that are available when you move to the applicant tracking system and how it can really create efficiencies and make things easier for you. A couple things to note. One, this is a test account. It's a demo account, so the information is obviously going to be different than what you're seeing. This is also a Jazz Pro account, so this is basically loaded with all of the functionality that Jazz offers, which is why you see the calendar tab up here and the reports tab, tasks, etc. So let me just show you the customization that's offered in the applicant tracking system portion of Jazz. Out of the box, you're going to have access to our basic workflow, which is typically screen, interview, consider, and offer. So with the applicant tracking portion, you'll see that I've actually built out a nice customized workflow here. So this workflow matches up exactly with how I disposition candidates through my process. I screen them, I put them through a phone screen, they go through 2 in-person interviews, they then complete a take-home test, we consider them, we check the references, and then we make the offer. So as you can see, with the applicant tracking system, you have the ability to add automated workflow helpers, tasks, emails, and interviews. Starting with tasks, you can create complete customized tasks and assign them to members of your hiring team or your colleagues at any time. Items like scheduling phone screens, scheduling in-person interviews, sending out evaluations and questionnaires to candidates, creating and sending out an offer letter to a candidate. Really, the possibilities are endless. Tasks are completely customizable and can be basically added to any workflow stage to complete any kind of task in Jazz. Emails, scheduling a phone screen to the candidate, for example. My favorite example of automating emails is when you move a candidate into a not hired status. Instead of having to manually go in and send a rejection letter to that candidate, you can simply add this automated rejection letter so that anytime I disposition a candidate into a not hired stage, that candidate receives an email saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks. So automation, very, very important with applicant tracking. Huge time saver, and a little bit of legwork initially can save you a whole lot of time as you're growing, expanding your team, expanding your department. This becomes very, very handy. So the next function that the applicant tracking system offers is the ability to send bulk emails or batch emails. So I want to quickly touch on this, and I'm under candidates. Let me just go back here. I'm under candidates, and I click on send batch email, and I can select the job. We'll select the front end developer position. Now, say I've hired my candidate for this job. I've completed the requisition, and at this point, I just want to let all of my existing candidates know that the job has been filled and they're no longer going to be considered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of my candidates in any stage that's not a hired stage. I'm going to keep my email address private, so that way these candidates can't directly email me back or email me back directly. I'm then going to see a list of all of my candidates that this email is going to go to. I go ahead and click send automated message. I select my job is filled template, populates my information here. I send my batch message, and all of those candidates were just contacted, letting them know that they no longer being considered for this position. Now, another really great functionality that we offer here with the applicant tracking portion is the ability to do complete batch actions. So let me show you what I mean by that. Again, I'm under candidates here, and I'm going to click on my magnifying glass. And I'm going to go to advanced search. And again, I'm going to choose my front-end developer position. And I'm going to take a look at my software engineer questionnaire. Add a filter. I'm going to identify all of my candidates that have submitted an answer to a question saying they have 0 years of experience. I'm going to search my candidates. I'm going to see that I now have 3 candidates that have no experience whatsoever in the position I'm hiring for. So I want to reject them right off the bat. I don't want to spend any time phone screening them or anything like that. So I click on my checkbox here to check all of my candidates. I go to batch actions. I select change status. And I can move them, all 3 of them at one time, into a not hired status. So you'll notice here that I can also, because I have a workflow helper or an automated workflow email attached to this, it's going to prompt me and say, hey, you're about to send a rejection letter to these applicants, confirm yes or no. So again, automation, very, very easy. I know I'm really beating that dead automation horse, but very, very easy to create automation within Jazz that allows you to save a lot of time in the long run. So those are the key functionalities of the applicant tracking portion of Jazz. Again, a great way to save a lot of time. And as you grow and your team begins to grow, this is going to really be beneficial for you and be well worth the cost of the applicant tracking portion. All right, so the next feature add-on or feature set I want to talk about is interview and assessments. So there's 2 main ways to assess candidates within Jazz. One is going to be with interviews. The other is going to be evaluations. I figured the best way to demonstrate the value of this is just to kind of show you. So what I'm going to do is open up a front-end developer position here. And today we're going to be taking a look at Joe Pesci. Kind of random, maybe a little bit of a dated reference, but we'll take a look at Joe here and move him through the process. Now, I want to preface this and just kind of say that at this point, we are interested in Joe. We like what we see with Joe, and we're eventually going to hire Joe as a full-time employee of our company. So the first step is going to be advance the candidate. And you'll see that I have all my custom workflow stages listed here, part of the applicant tracking portion that we offer. At this stage, I'm going to move the candidate into a screen stage. And a lot of people will say, well, why do you use the screen stage? What's the purpose? Well, good question. And typically the easiest explanation for that is going to be to capture feedback and have a preliminary discussion on the candidate and whether or not that candidate may be a good fit for a phone screen or eventually to hire the candidate. So I can come in here into the discussion tab and I can leave a comment that says, Joe looks great on paper, may be a great fit. And that's going to log my comment here in the discussions area. Now, another thing you can do is at mentions. At mentions are really, really handy in that if I select, I just start typing in the name of one of my colleagues here. Really handy in that when I actually submit a comment here, it's going to send an email to Michael Jones in this case, and Michael's going to have a link in that email that'll direct him straight into Joe Pesci's profile so he can go in and provide feedback or accomplish something that I've assigned to him. In this case, I can say, please review Joe's resume and provide feedback. And I can submit that. So again, Michael's going to receive an email with a link directly into Joe's candidate profile so he can easily go in and provide a comment or provide feedback on Joe. So after we've captured all of our initial screening notes, we are going to move Joe into a phone screen stage. And you're going to see again where our automated helpers are coming in handy here. So we have an automated helper assigned to send an email out to the candidate scheduling a phone screen. We can easily do that just by clicking this box and it's going to send our email template to schedule a phone screen directly to the candidate. Completely automated. I don't have to go in and manually type anything out. I also have a task assigned that I want to ask Bill and Michael to make sure that they go in and capture feedback on the candidate and complete that by Friday of this week. So in doing that, in assigning tasks, you'll see that I now have a task list on the right side of my screen that shows all the tasks that are due for this specific candidate. Now, also attached to the phone screen stage is a phone screen interview. And this interview tab is going to be new for folks on the Jazz Post plan. This interview tab is going to house all of the completed phone screen and in-person interview guides that we complete for the candidate. So a couple of cool things that we can note here. Before I start the interview, I can actually go in and schedule the interview or the phone screen right here. We have full integrations with Google Calendar and Microsoft Outlook that can be really beneficial and save a lot of time in the fact that you can actually view your colleagues' availability right inside of Jazz. So instead of having to toggle back and forth and view the calendars outside of Jazz, you can do that all right here. We also have this link to the interview guide, and this is really handy for kind of one-off situations where you have an internal employee that needs to be involved in an interview process, and you don't want to really make them a user or an admin in Jazz. You don't want to create an account for them in Jazz. You just simply want them to complete one interview. I can send this out to them. They don't have to have any login information for Jazz, and they can go in and actually complete an interview guide for the candidate. So that can be really, really handy. So when I'm ready to start my phone screen, say I have Joe on the phone, I go ahead and click Start Interview. It pops out with my interview guide. I enter my name, my email address, and I start the interview. Now, two things to note. If I want to view the candidate's resume, I can click the View Resume button. I can also use this pop-out resume function, which is awesome and something that customers really love. But you'll see here that it's a responsive window that comes up. So Joe's resume is over here while I'm going ahead and capturing my feedback from the phone screen right here on the right side of the screen. So that's something that's really, really handy. The beauty of interview guides is that they're fully customizable. You'll see that the first two questions we have here are just basically paragraph format responses where I can go in and talk about pros and cons of the candidate. So we'll say Joe is smart, he's funny, and professional. I also have the ability to rate the candidate's responses as well. And I always like to do this. I'll show you why here at the end. It puts a nice color-coded scheme on that, or on our feedback. Cons, we'll just say that he lacks some experience. So general questions, and you can ask very specific questions, such as how many years of experience do you have? Why did you leave your previous position? Say, because I did not like my boss. Not a great answer. Why do you want to work here? Your company is awesome. And so yeah, if you have specific situational or behavioral questions, you can easily add them right here and ensure that each candidate is being asked the same set of questions and you're capturing all of the necessary information from the candidate during a phone screen or an in-person interview. Last thing to note is I can add a question on the fly if the conversation kind of takes a turn and we start talking about, when can you start? I can simply add that as a date question and go in and actually complete the question here. So done with the interview. I'm going to go ahead and click on my complete interview button, and it's going to prompt me to save my answers, which I will. Then what's going to happen is I'm going to receive this pass or fail option here. So did the candidate pass the interview or did the candidate fail? As I mentioned earlier, we're going to assume that Joe is a good candidate that we're eventually going to hire. So I'm going to say that Joe passes, and I'm going to say Joe would be a great fit. Click complete interview. My interview is complete. And now this is where the collaboration part of the interview guides come in. You'll see that I now have a little window down here that tells me that I passed Joe, or Joe passed an interview with me on today's date. And then there's an eyeball here. Now this eyeball allows me to view the details of the interview. So all the feedback that I've captured is now visible right here. Any members of your hiring team, any of your colleagues that are assigned to this position will be able to go in and click that eyeball to see the feedback. Now, say you have 3 people that have phone screen Joe, or there's 3 people on the phone screen. You have 3 completed interview passed or interview failed lines here, and you'll be able to click the eyeball to see all of those right here in the candidate's profile. So this is really kind of a replacement to Google Sheets and shared docs that you guys use. And again, the ability to keep everything organized, everything is under one roof. Jazz really allows you the ability to keep everything neat and clean and collaborative using interviews within Jazz. So definitely a really, really great function in the system. All right, so that's going to cover interviews. Again, if you do have questions, please feel free to shoot them over in the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen. If you send over a question and it doesn't get answered immediately, don't panic. I'll send a response after the either at the end of the webinar today or after. You'll receive an email. All right, so the next part of interviews and assessments I want to talk about is evaluations. And evaluations, as I mentioned, are pretty similar to interviews with a couple of big differences. You'll see here I'm under assessments and I have an evaluation section here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Evaluation. I'm going to be working on my front-end developer position in Pittsburgh, and I'm going to look at a software engineer evaluation. So right out of the gate, you'll see one of the big differences here is that I have a 1 to 10 scale. I also have a number of different criteria I can use when actually building out my evaluation template. Things such as strongly agree to strongly disagree, a 1 to 3 scale, a yes or no scale. It's really, really customizable. So I can just go through Java abilities. We'll say a 7 out of 10. Has a lot of great experience. Critical thinking, we'll say that Joe has a lot of good critical thinking skills. Not great with Scrum, he lacks experience here. Nerd status, that's an interesting one, we'll say yes. Electric guitar skills, he is mean playing the electric guitar, so we'll say a 10. And after we've completed the evaluation, I can enter my final comments, notes, feedback, etc. here. And then I can go ahead and save my evaluation. So I X out of that, and now you'll see that I have a couple of scores here. Again, this is another example of evaluation. Assessments within Jazz and being collaborative. You'll see here that I have scored Joe. I've completed an evaluation and scored Joe at a 78. I can click to view the details here so that I can easily see exactly what my responses were. I can also see if, for example, Lila has gone in and filled out an evaluation as well. So I'll see here all of her feedback and her comments also. So a really good way to, again, identify who's going to be the best candidate for the job using interview guides and using evaluation feedback and comments and overall scoring. It's really easy to identify who's the front runner, who's your golden ticket person, and who's going to get the job. Another thing just to mention with the interviews and assessments add-ons is that you have the ability to leverage really handy integrations that we offer, specifically SparkHire and HackerRank. SparkHire actually allows for video interviewing. It's their main selling point is they actually offer a one-way video interviewing platform. So what that means is I can actually create a list of questions, send it out to my candidate. The candidate can record themselves answering those questions, send it back to me. I can watch this on my own time. Kind of eliminates the necessity of having a mutual time for both of you to jump on a phone screen, for example, or if they're across the country, saves a little bit of money in travel, and you can easily just video interview someone, right on the internet. The one-way video interviewing feature they're actually saying is going to be like the next wave of phone screens and kind of the replacement for phone screens. So keep an eye out for that. SparkHire is really innovative and a very, very neat company. HackerRank is also another option, and the HackerRank integration allows you to send out coding tests. So if you're hiring developers, engineers, programmers, you can actually send them out tests and view the results of those tests right inside of Jazz. And you'll see here that under admin, my admin tab, and under integrations, this is where I can access all of the different integrations that Jazz offers. So really, really good way, again, to save some time and create some efficient processes. All right, so the next, second to last add-on I want to cover is offer management. This is really, really important in the fact that it kind of takes some of the human element out of creating offer letters and automates the offer letter process. You can draft the letters and easily send them and house them inside of Jazz. So let's just go ahead and dive into an offer letter. I want to go back to Joe Pesci here. Again, we're going to say that Joe has moved through the process. And we like what we see with Joe, so we're going to give him an offer. So we're just going to hypothetically move him through the interview stages. Take-home test he's completed, and you'll see that we have these automated helpers, really big time savers here. And eventually, Joe goes to our offer stage. So here, I'm going to task myself with creating and sending the offer letter by tomorrow. And now I want to click on my offers tab. So first step, I'm going to create an offer. Now, previously, before the call, I actually went in and loaded some templates under the admin section. Generally speaking, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete the offer template and load it into Jazz. So I'm going to use our Jazz co-offer, select the template. I'm going to first put a name in, an offer name. So we'll say Joe Pesci offer. And you'll notice all of the token fields are highlighted green. So these are really important fields that I need to complete so that they're automatically generated in my offer letter before I send it. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to go through and quickly just fill out these fields here. And you'll see it gets as granular as salary information, bonuses, stock options, PTO, sick days, very, very in-depth fields here. So very simple for a hiring manager or a member of your team to go in and fill out these fields. Once they have all the fields completed, I can go ahead and click on my Create Offer button, review all of my information in a nice, neat format. If I need to go back and edit something, I can do that by clicking the Edit button. If I don't need to, I'm ready to generate my letter. I go ahead and generate my letter. Jazz behind the scenes kind of creates this document here. I open up my document, and my offer letter has been created. So you'll see here my salary information, my PTO, sick days, all the dates that I entered are all automatically populated in this Word document offer letter. So now it's super easy for me to go ahead, send this to the candidate, have the candidate sign it, and then basically return it to me. I can save it as an attachment on the candidate's profile. So everything, again, stressing the importance of keeping everything under one roof and really, really making it simple to stay organized through your recruiting process. Last thing to note, keep in mind that we are going to be offering e-signatures at the end of June. So then you'll actually be able to send a document through Jazz and have the candidate sign it electronically, and it'll actually notify you in Jazz that the candidate has signed that document. So that's going to be a really, really cool release for us, something that we're really excited about. All right, so that's going to cover offers. The last section I want to take a look at is reports. Again, I mentioned this is one of my favorites because it's very important. This is information that as you grow, you're going to be reporting to your managers, your C-level executives, higher ups in the organization that are going to want to see how your team is performing. So I want to pinpoint a couple of reports here and just show you some of the really great functionality in being able to analyze your data that is inside of Jazz. First, we'll look at our overall source quality report. And a couple of things to mention. If you take a look, we have a lot of built-in helper text or Sherpa text. And if you just hover over any of the eye icons, it'll tell you exactly what you're looking at. If you hover over column headers, it's also going to just give you a brief description of what that column means. I can favorite reports by clicking the heart up here on the top right of my screen, which I'll show you here in just a minute. And I can also export all of my information in this report to a CSV file. Now, depending on your level of expertise with Excel, you can really easily build out pivot tables, charts, graphs, run VLOOKUPs, all that good stuff right inside of Excel. So overall source quality, this is telling us where our candidates are coming from and who we're hiring based on the sources that they're coming from. So if you have a budget and you're looking to allocate spend to specific sources, this is going to tell you where you should allocate that spend. You'll see here that we have our job board and LinkedIn as the two highest in this test account. Generally speaking, most of you out there are going to have Indeed, Glassdoor, LinkedIn as probably the top three. Our job board is going to be listed up there pretty high as well. So you'll see we've gotten 41 candidates from our job board, hired 4 of them, not hired 19. We actually have received 20 candidates from LinkedIn and hired 1. So this is, again, painting a clear picture of where your candidates are coming from and where you want to spend recruiting dollars to find candidates. The next is one of my favorite reports. It's application conversion. And what this is going to tell us is how many people viewed the job. So how many people viewed our front-end web developer position? 148. Out of those 148 people that viewed the job, 64 of those people applied. So a conversion rate here of 43%. So a good goal-setting report here. This is something that's really, really great if you want to say, all right, we have a current conversion rate of 20%. We actually want to increase that to 25% by the end of Q3. These are the steps we're going to take to do that. We're going to advertise, kind of brag about our company a little bit more. Say, hey, this is really why you want to work here. We have this awesome environment. We have some great perks. Try to find ways to ultimately get more candidates to apply to your position by making it sound more appealing. It's a very cool report here. Next, hiring pipeline by job. So what this is going to do is this is actually going to tell us how candidates are moving through our process. Again, sticking with the front-end web developer, we have 64 people that have applied. We've actually moved along 84% of our applicants into an active advanced workflow stage. We then interviewed all 54 of them. We made offers to 35 of them and hired 10 of them. So great information and a good way to identify where candidates are kind of falling through the process and where they are ultimately being dispositioned into a not hired status. The next report I want to look at is time to hire. This is a great report because it's very important to hire candidates quickly, to move them through the process quickly and eliminate the potential for another company hiring them or them accepting an offer somewhere else. So you'll see here that it's taking us on average 7 days to advance a candidate from a new stage to an active stage. Only 0 days, so it's actually not taking us any time at all to move the candidate into an interviewed stage. And you'll see here what I just did is I actually just changed our time frame And we'll look at the past year, a little bit more realistic data here. So 19 days on average from a new to advanced stage, 7 days after that to complete an interview guide, 2 weeks to send an offer letter, and just 2 days after that to mark a candidate as hired. So a good way to see how long it's taking you to hire folks. And again, from a goal setting perspective, if it's taking you 40 days to hire a candidate, it'll be something to say, all right, I want to knock that down by 5 days, and these are the steps I'm going to take to do that. So very handy reports here. We have some legacy reports, or some of the reports that we actually had from an existing version of our reporting and analytics tab. You'll see here that I have a raw download or a raw export of all of my candidates. So I can actually take everything within Jazz, all of my candidate information, dump it into a nice CSV spreadsheet, and manipulate all of this data very, very easily. So very handy, and again, depending on your level of skill in Excel, you can really take that data and really manipulate it to produce some great reports. Compliance reporting, we also offer that. Take a look at the background and where your candidates are coming from, what kind of background they have, diversity, race, gender, etc. Really easy to run compliance reports within Jazz. So the last piece of reports I want to talk about is creating a custom report. And I'm back at the main reports tab here. If I click create custom report, this is really, really great because it allows me to check basically any of the columns that I want to actually report on. So we'll say first name, last name, email, and again, just for example's sake, I'm just going to select some of these options here to generate a quick report. You'll notice here that I can even click, hold, and drag to change where this appears. I can click the X to delete a column if necessary. But when I'm ready, I generate the report. Very quickly, Jazz behind the scenes pulls my information. Here's everything that I wanted to pull. Now, saving a favorite report is really awesome because if I go in here and just use the generic, we'll say June 15th, save this as a favorite. I now have created a on-demand report. So what I mean by that is, say 6 months down the line, I want to run this exact same report, but I don't want to go in and actually have to create or add all of my columns and create a custom report again. I can simply go into my favorite reports here, select my June 15th report, and now see that all of my information is automatically generated for me with just one click of the mouse. So you'll notice that we have some built-in filters available in Jazz. If you want to filter this further before exporting it out to Excel, you can easily do that here. You can sort things ascending or descending, etc. Whenever I'm ready, I can click on my drop-down, export it to CSV, and easily take my information and manipulate it in an Excel spreadsheet. So that's really going to cover reports. Again, very robust, a great way to pool all of your information and basically provide a nice detailed report to your to your managers, to your executives, and say, hey, this is exactly how we're performing. These are our goals, and this is what we're going to do to meet these goals. All right, so that is going to take care of reports. That was the last thing I really wanted to demonstrate. The last thing I just want to take a peek at is the actual how we break down these modules here. You'll see that we have the 3 different plan options right now. We have Post, Plus, and Pro. Pro is going to basically include everything, and all the options, all of the feature add-ons will be included there. Now, say for example you're a Post customer out there, and you're just currently using the basic out-of-the-box features, and you're looking to add on an applicant tracking system. You can do that and only add on that applicant tracking system instead of having to go in and upgrade entirely to a Pro plan or a Plus plan, and you say you don't want to use these features here. You can just add on the applicant tracking system very easy, very convenient, and again, way more flexible than our existing price offerings. I want to encourage everyone to please email us with questions. Feel free to call us with questions. You can send an email over to webinars@jazz.co. You can also email me directly. I'm happy to help answer any questions that you have. If you want to test out some of these different modules for a short period of time, we can do that for you. My direct email address is Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, .blatt, that's B as in boy, L-A-T-T, @jazz.co. So please feel free to reach out, take a look at these awesome new features, kind of ad hoc features. If you have questions, please send them over to me. I really want to thank everybody for joining the webinar today, spending some time on the call, and I really hope that everybody shoots me an email and at least test drive some of these out, because I really think they're big time savers, can really add a lot of value to your organization, and can save you a lot of time in the long run. So thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it. I hope to see everybody on future webinars. And again, feel free to shoot us over any questions that you might have. Have a great afternoon, a great Wednesday, and hope to talk to everybody soon. Thanks.